Hello, welcome to Straight Talk Africa, live from Washington. It's Wednesday, March 16th. I am Shaka Sali. Today, we'll talk about the political stalemate in Ivory Coast and recent efforts by the African Union to resolve the leadership issue. Fighting is spreading in the Ivory Coast, where Alassane Ouattara, a man recognized as the elected president of the nation, is in a standoff with incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo, who refuses to step down. The United Nations says hundreds have died in post-election violence and hundreds of thousands have fled the troubled nation. The African Union joined the international community recognizing Mr. Ouattara as president and the clear winner in November's election. My colleague Paul Sisco has more on the story.
Laurent Gbagbo, who has been in power for a decade, insists he won the November 28th election, despite UN-certified results showing Alassane Ouattara received more than 54% of the vote to Gbagbo's 46%. Ivory Coast ambassador to the United Nations, Youssoufou Bamba.
They are killing people along ethnic lines. They are killing national from foreign countries, for neighboring countries. They are killing people who are opposed to Mr. Gbagbo. That's not acceptable today in the 21st century, where elsewhere the people are taking their responsibility and asking for more democracy, more freedom. That's not acceptable.
Until recently, most of the fighting has been in neighborhoods loyal to Mr. Ouattara. But pro-Ouattara supporters are beginning to push back into pro-Gbagbo territories. Last week, Mr. Ouattara met with African Union Commission Chairman Jean Ping and other African leaders at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa. It was his first trip outside the Ivory Coast since before the election.
They reconfirmed that I'm the president elected by the Ivorian people. Now it's a final decision, so there is no way to go back on that. And at the same time, they asked me if I could, in the framework of reconciliation, have a government which would be take into account other parties and the civil society and try to find an honorable exit for Mr. Laurent Gbagbo. Obviously, I accepted that because I want peace for Côte d'Ivoire.
Ouattara says he is putting together a government that will include members of Mr. Gbagbo's party.
It's a government that I will form, which will include members of other parties that I will select. It's different to say that it's a national unity government, as if ministers will be imposed to me. That's not the case.
Mr. Gbagbo did not attend the summit, and his advisors strongly rejected the AU's efforts to end the stalemate.
Africa and the African Union are contributing to the worsening situation in Ivory Coast and will be accountable for an eventual civil war that could take place.
Mr. Nguyen says to deny Mr. Gbagbo the election is unacceptable.
We have been very, very clear with respect to the Ivory Coast. The elections that were held there were won by Alassane Ouattara, not by Laurent Gbagbo.
U.S. Ambassador Johnny Carson calls on Africa's leaders to speak out against injustice.
I think the Ivory Coast is a test for the democratic institutions of that country to determine whether the ballots of people who go and vote will be accepted by leaders who were defeated. It would be a tragedy for democracy in Africa to see Laurent Gbagbo succeed, because it would in essence say that those who lost could just simply remain in office. In many ways, what Mr. Gbagbo is doing in the Ivory Coast is equivalent to what Mr. Gaddafi is doing in Libya, defying the will of the people, fighting against justice, democracy, and good human rights, fighting the future of their nations, trying to stop time and history from moving forward, trying to stop political progress.
While international attention focuses on events in North Africa, and the catastrophe continuing to unfold in Japan. The United Nations Human Rights Council says nearly 500,000 people have been displaced in Abidjan and western Cote d'Ivoire, and that a return to civil war there concerns everyone. Paul Sisco, VOA News.
Thanks, Paul, for that report.